All right, so I want to quickly go through what you need to actually accomplish for the Flutter development environment setup. Okay, so here are the milestones you should achieve. So we need to get the Flutter SDK installed. We need to have a IDE installed, which I suggest using Android Studio. And from the Android Studio, you can then create your first Flutter app as well as running the Android emulator. If you can run your app and make a simple change, and that means you are good to go for the Flutter development. Okay, so let's go through that. And first of all, in order to install the Flutter SDK, you have to go to the official site, go to install Flutter. And there they have some quick starts. They'll automatically detect your operating system. And then make sure you have all the um, dependencies installed. Just follow the command. The most important part here is that you will need to install the Flutter SDK. In this case, they talk about using VS Code to do it, which you could actually do the same way. But you can also try to choose to install this manually and download the SDK, right? So in this case, I'm using Apple's CPU, so I'm going to click on this one. You can see that's going to trigger a download. This is going to take a while. And once you have the file done, and then you can end the file and follow the step here to set up the paths and everything. Okay, but once again, if you want something simple, you can always follow the VS Code approach to do the same thing. All right, so let me do the manual process because as a developer, that's probably something you can also do. All right, and let's see if the download is almost finished. Very fast internet, that's 2 GB. So I'm gonna open my folder and here's the file. I'm gonna unzip it. All right, and then you will see the actual folder. Inside the folder, that includes all the Flutter stuff. Okay. And then under the bin folder, you will have this command called Flutter. Okay, so it's very important you need to know where you download the folder. Okay, so this way, under my computer, it's under downloads. Okay, so you from downloads, you can go to Flutter, you can find all the files. Okay, so moving forward, once you download it, you unzip it. I did the same thing. Here, you're trying to set up the path so that you can trigger the command anywhere, right? So what they're trying to do here is that if I go to my download folder, I go to Flutter, and I go to bin folder. If I run the Flutter command, that's going to trigger it. Yeah, so this is great. But if I go to other folder, if I do Flutter, it may not work. So what I need to do is to set up the path. Okay, so they already told you that to put the path something like this and to export it. So we can follow the same here, but you need to know what is the path to your current SDK, right? So what our path is under here, downloads, go to Flutter, and this is the current folder path. Okay, so if I use a command, okay, and I have to replace this part here with this. All right. And if you do that, that actually export a path. In that case, you can trigger this command anywhere you want. So it will be recognizing the command. Okay, so I just did this very quickly. As you go through this whole thing, you can follow the tutorial and make sure that everything is set up. So ultimately, you just can run this Flutter command anywhere you want. You can do Flutter dash version. You can do Flutter, and that's something called doctor. Dash version. Okay, and you have Flutter. Um, there is a doctor command we can also try. Let's go back here. I'll just run it. Okay, a doctor. So that's gonna show you what it's gonna do is to do a quick check on your computer to make sure you have anything installed, what's missing. All right, just to make sure the command line works. Okay, having the command line SDK installed, that's the step one. Right after that, you will need your IDE. I personally like Android Studio. So what you can do here is there is a dedicated post for this one. So if you go to Android and set up Android Studio, right? So go to Open Android Studio. You can download the latest version. I'm going to just redo this one. And this is my chip. And let's see how long it's going to take. This is also pretty big software. I'm going to wait this a little bit. All right. Android Studio is pretty much very advanced. I would say maybe most advanced IDE. It has a lot of good features to make things done in a more efficient way. A lot of people also prefer to use VS Code. That's also fun. They're just different type of um, experiences. Okay, so both are very powerful. It's all about your preferences. Okay, so if you prefer to use VS Code, that's totally fine. I think the Flutter guide actually use VS Code to do it. So anyway, so here is the downloads. Okay, I'm gonna install VS Code. Sorry, Android Studio. I'm gonna drag it into my project. Since I already have one, I'm gonna use the new one to replace my old version. I also want to try the new version. So some simple installation process. All right, so once we have it, let's try to run it. So I go to my list of apps, and that is Android Studio. All right, so I'm gonna trigger this application. All right. All right, so this is the latest version. And then you can do a lot of different projects. So I already have some of the project going on, but you may have a brand new one. And if your Android Studio cannot see this new Flutter project, that means you have not installed a plugin yet. Okay, so you go to plugins and find out the Flutter plugin and make sure that you have already installed a Flutter plugin. That's very important. If you don't have this one, you cannot create a Flutter project. So since I already have it, I go to project, I do a new project and choose the SDK path. This is very important. That's where you install that Flutter. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go choose downloads, Flutter. That is where I just downloaded my SDK. So I'm gonna use this one. All right, click on next. And this is the project name, my first app, Flutter. Okay, and you gotta choose your folder and everything. I'm gonna change this domain name into something that my app, or you can get more specific. Okay, demo. All right, so here I'll just support most of the platforms, and let's just use a default setting. Okay, and then click on create. Okay, so that's gonna bring the default sample app. Okay, so this is Android Studio's SDK, and this ones you don't need it, but we'll close those later. All right. And you will see on the left, you have all the project structure. The most important file is something called main.dart. Okay, so these are all given by Flutter framework. It's a very good sample app you can see. All right, so once you have Android Studio, the next thing to do is be able to run the app. Okay, when you run the app, I really want you to run it on a Android emulator. So what you want to do is go to the device manager. Okay, so I have one device already, but you could add a new one if you don't have one. I'm going to create a new virtual device. Okay, so since this is Android, right? So it's all the Android phone. I'm going to just use one of the new phones, maybe this Pixel 9a. I'm just going to create that one and then just choose the default name and finish. That's also going to download a lot of things. Okay, so this is 1.8 megabytes. So the whole installation process is going to take a while with some of these major files to download and set up. But yeah, you just need to know the most important pieces. Okay, to summarize, number one is the Flutter SDK, and number two is the IDE, ideally Android Studio, and then you do the Flutter plugin so that you can create a Flutter project in Android Studio. And now we're doing the emulator. Once you have emulator, then you can run your app. And if you can see your very first app being up and running, that's all you need to do for the setup. And obviously there will be a lot of issues Depending on your computer setup, operating system, my suggestion is always go to ChatGPT to talk about errors and issues and to get some of the help. All right, looks like we got the file downloaded very fast, and I'm gonna finish. All right, so that's the emulator. Once we have emulator, we can run this one by clicking the button, and that's gonna pop up a phone on your computer. All right, first time you run the app, the phone, it's gonna take some time. As you can see, the phone is up and running, and this is a real Android um, phone, but it's emulator. But the software, everything they're running is the same as a real Android phone. All right, so once you have this initial setup, as you can see, it's a real Android phone. Okay, you have a browser here, and you got everything. So we're gonna use this one as a kind of a place where we can run our app. Now to run the app, now go back here at the top. You can choose where you want to run this one. Okay, I want to run this in the Pixel 9a. You got to choose this one, and then we click on the button, the run button. All right. Once again, this time it's gonna probably take a while to build the whole app, and you can always just open the phone on the side so you can see it. And this one you can close this one. So I sometimes just keep the app to look like this. All right. Once we build the whole app, and it's gonna show up in the emulator. It's gonna just take another minute or so. The Flutter is a pretty heavy development framework, so it's going to take a lot of resources from your computer. So if your computer isn't very powerful, and it may take much longer to build and run the app. So ideally, you want to find um, a good computer to run Flutter. All right, so if there's something wrong with the process. Let's see if it's going to affect uh, the app. Okay, so we'll just wait a little bit more. Looks like there are some other dependency we need to install. And as you run all of this, once again, you might see some other different issues. Okay, so always either Google it or use ChatGPT to find answers. Most of these things happen just in the first time. As you can see right now, there are a lot of a license you need to accept. Yeah. All right, looks like something is wrong here. Uh, let's actually try to run this one more time since that was the first time we did it. See if we have any luck with it. All right, so there's some kind of a permissions needed. Just be patient. The first time running this one will have a lot of different issues. All right, looks like this time we got a whole app built and up and running. And here we go. So that's the sample app. If you click on the button here, you can see the number got changed. Okay, if you can see this, congratulations, you got a whole development setup. Now you can try to make a code change. One code change to make here is if you go to this line here, as you can see, there's a counter variable and it's trying to increase the value by 1. So I can change this one to be decreasing and save the code. And if you click on this lightning button, it's going to hot load, rerun the app. And now if you click on this button again, as you can see, the number got decreased. Okay, so you can change this one in any way you want. Okay, so for example, every time I'm going to add for 2. Okay, I run this code again. This time I'm going to increase by 2 each time. All right, so this is what you need to do for your setup. Okay, this was a very quick went through, just wanted you to see the major steps. But if there's anything wrong, and try to Google and use ChatGPT to help you.